This is Euronews Now. I'm Ral San. It's the 22nd of April. It's great to have you with us. Let's take a look at our top stories today. Officials from the besieged Ukrainian city of Mariupol accuse Russia of burying up to 9,000 civilians in mass graves. 100,000 people remain trapped while 2,000 soldiers fight on. Le Pen or Macron? Campaigning in the French presidential election officially ends this evening ahead of Sunday's vote. Polls suggest a slight lead for the incumbent president. And on the 52nd annual Earth Day, we take a look at how unsustainable farming practices in the EU are leading to 100 billion euros of damage to our soil.
There's no respite for Mariupol. After almost 2 months of invasion, Russia claims that the entire territory is under their control. Moscow has released this video claiming that the entire territory has been conquered, but it is impossible to verify where it was filmed. But the US insists that Ukrainian forces still control Azovstal. Meanwhile, President Zelenskyy reported in his nightly address that the Kremlin has not agreed to his proposal of a ceasefire in the east of the country.
Unfortunately, Russia rejected the offer to establish an Easter truce. This very well demonstrates how the leaders of this state actually relate to the Christian faith, to one of the most joyful and important holidays. But we hope for peace, hope that life will conquer death.
On Thursday, Zelenskyy also called for international aid, asking for 6 billion euros a month to keep the country's economy alive. In the east, Russian advances are progressing. Kyiv has confirmed that dozens of localities in the east have fallen. On the northern front, Kharkiv continues to suffer from Russian artillery shelling. At least 2 people were killed and 5 wounded after several shelling in the eastern part of the city.
Local officials from Mariupol have accused Russian forces of burying up to 9,000 civilians in mass graves. The suspected burial sites have been located by satellite images on the outskirts of the port city. Kyiv has also confirmed that Russia controls most of the city, but Ukrainian forces continue to hold the Azovstal steelworks. The mayor of Mariupol rejects the idea of a Russian victory.
The city was, is and remains Ukrainian today, because today our brave warriors, our heroes, are defending our city as much as possible. So it doesn't matter what statements are made there, the city is and will be Ukrainian.
Mariupol has been a key objective for Russia since the start of the invasion. Capturing the city would allow Moscow to establish a land corridor to Ukraine's Crimean Peninsula that Russia annexed in 2014 and deprive Ukraine of a major port and prized industrial assets.
The operation continues according to plan. Mariupol, which has become a hub of nationalist formations, has been liberated. There was and still is an opportunity for Ukrainian troops to lay down their arms and come out via established corridors.
Meanwhile, 3 school buses filled with evacuees from Mariupol arrived in Zaporizhia after crossing through territory held by Russian forces. Women and children finally arrived after attempts to open a humanitarian corridor had been delayed multiple times because of fierce fighting. The refugee camp of Seres in northern Greece hosts 132 Ukrainian refugees, mostly women and children. Although far from home, Tatiana and Kristina decided that they would observe all Easter customs. One morning, refugees gathered in the center of the camp to paint eggs, make candles and bake traditional buns. Tatiana Babarou is a historian and speaks Ukrainian and Greek. She chooses to speak in both languages and cannot hold back her tears.
I am from Kyiv. We had to leave. Despite all difficulties, it is Easter. We have a strong faith and we respect our traditions. We make traditional buns called Easter and paint eggs with flowers and trees. This symbolizes life and rebirth. We also paint the sun. We love the light. It gives us strength and courage.
Ukrainian refugees remember their homeland through the songs they love. Little children play and draw colorful Easter eggs.
The pain is great, but we thought of our children. They have lost their homeland. They must not lose their history, their traditions. With Easter eggs, buns, and candles, we want to give them a little joy and hope. Everything will be fine, and we will rebuild our lives.
There are 36 children living in the camp, 30 of whom go to school. All children are learning Greek. From the first day they came to the country, Ukrainian refugees feel the need to go to church and pray, especially on Holy Week. This need is even more intense as they hope that the resurrection of Jesus Christ will bring the end of this bloody war. The Orthodox Church stands by them.
We will return to our homes, we will rebuild our houses, and we will make them stronger. We had beautiful lives, and we want to take them back. We don't want to walk around and wander in foreign lands. We do not want our children to be bombarded and die.
In the last 2 months, about 21,000 Ukrainians have arrived in Greece. This is definitely a hard Easter, far away from home and from those they love. Yet, they hope that the war will soon end and that they won't spend the rest of their lives as refugees. Apóstolos Taikos, Euronews, Ceres.
As the second round of the French presidential election approaches, Jean-Luc Mélenchon supporters could cast the decisive vote. In this department, in the Paris region, 1 in 2 voters cast ballots for the left-wing candidate in the first round, and now they are divided.
This is a second round that we didn't expect, that we didn't want.
I can't stand either of them, but I'm still going to vote.
I will go for the least worst choice.
I won't be voting for either candidate.
A recent poll suggests that only around a third of Jean-Luc Mélenchon's supporters intend to vote for Emmanuel Macron, though Mélenchon called on his supporters not to vote for Marine Le Pen.
We're doing more than our share by saying that not one vote should go to Marine Le Pen, by advising people to go and vote. From then on, it's perhaps up to Emmanuel Macron to prove that Marine Le Pen is worse than he is.
Jean-Luc Mélenchon, unlike several defeated candidates, refused to call on his supporters to vote for Emmanuel Macron, though his party intends to capitalize on its support, with a view to the legislative elections in June.
Building a majority of Mélenchon's platform, that would include parties that were not with us in the presidential elections and that could join our campaign. It's likely to continue to mobilize the electorate, and why not increase it?
A potential cohabitation between the left and the future president could weigh on the end of the presidential election.
The legislative elections are traditionally a validation of the result of the second round of the presidential election, but it may have an impact on the mobilization of the Mélenchon electorate for the second round by pushing them not to choose or to vote blank or void.
Polls suggest that turnout for the second round would be around 71%, slightly lower than in 2017.
It is the final stretch of this presidential election. From this Friday midnight, France will enter into an electoral silence period to give voters a day of calm before making their decision on Sunday.
This is Euronews Now. Stay tuned, we'll have plenty more after the break.